ソニック、本当にやるのか？ああ、俺は冒険が大好きなのさ。ソニック！
ソニックはアドベンチャーが好き。ソニックアドベンチャー。
So it looks like today we're talking about one of the actual popular characters of Sonic the Hedgehog, Knuckles the Echidna. And for this, of course, it's another character analysis, but now I'm doing it as a Tomb Raider Tariq video. Let's see how many white people know who he is. But for this character, I did want to do something special because a lot of the ideas with Knuckles is that, oh, he's the black character, and so why not do a black YouTuber? Who, me? The fuck? I'm white. But all seriousness though, this is going to be a fun video and I'm actually interested in how the fuck I'm going to edit this because this is going to be a special little event here. So let's get into the true character of Knuckles the Echidna. So before I get into this video, I would just like to talk about today's sponsor.
Skillshare. Oh, we here?
I'm just here to talk about my Discord server. If you're a Sonic fan and you love Sonic and you love to talk about Sonic, I have a whole server where it's me and a bunch of other Sonic fans talking about Sonic. Now, unlike the toxicness of Twitter or the YouTube comments, it is not made just for Japanese fans. It is also made for everyone. So if you have anything you want to ask or you want to have rounded debates that actually mean something and actually with depth and not actually just being a talk back and forth bitching the whole time, you can actually join the server. And with this server, we already have a couple people in there who have been there from the beginning, but I thought it would be better if we promoted it here because if we get more people, then we'll get more traction and we'll be able to do more stuff in that server. I don't plan on doing everything, but there is some times where maybe we'll be on Discord and we'll play a game together or we'll do a drawing competition or something like that. There's different sections for artists, voice actors, YouTubers, and even just people on Twitter. But if you're interested in that, you can always go join it in the link in the description in my link tree, along with a bunch of other stuff that I have in there that also is mine and just other side stuff in there. So back to the video.
Hey! 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 Nigga, I know you can hear me.
Maybe if I ignore him, he'll just go away. Hey, yo, wait a minute, nigga. What the fuck did you just say? Yeah, nigga, yeah, I'm thriving through the vibes. Freedom is my only choice, don't give a shit about sides. This pass you give to push the limit, see where you can side. And don't give up on this journey, come on, just take the ride. Just like Sonic, running around as freely as I can. Like Goku, I jump into it and figure out a plan. Like Robin, I know half the time what it means to be human. And I know that this art shit is just here for consuming, just for me. But hey, that's me, I'm free, what else is there to be? When my approach is to lose focus, that's only what you perceive. May not be the best with winning, but I know I can, cause it's free. This bond of mine will keep me kind and make you niggas believe that
Good evening, Grapple fans, and welcome to the main event between two stars.
Hey, honk breath, there's only one star here! My boy Sonic! He's in the groove with fresh moves! Button and blabbermouth, and check out my man, Knuckles! He climbs, glides, butts the wall!
Okay, gentlemen, let's see some action. Take a look at that. Now take a look at this. Backwards compatibility. And now a word from our sponsor.
Trigger!
Okay.
So of course when we're talking about Knuckles, we have to talk about his creation. Of course, as we know, Knuckles was created by Takashi Yuda. When creating Knuckles, he had the idea of making a rival character for Sonic. Of course, with Sonic's Japanese name being Needle Mouse, of course, for Knuckles to be the opposite, we had to get a Needle Mole. When making this character, he of course was mostly based off of an Echidna. And look at this thing is kind of fucking ugly. With Knuckles as a character, he was made to be the opposite to Sonic. But before we get into all of that, let's go into his origin, of course. Of course, as we already know, Knuckles is from Angel Island and he's been protecting the Master Emerald for years, and he's been doing it due to the Echidna clan, which mysteriously died by some mystery water god who looks fucking dumb. I mean, he's cool as shit. But now onto the character itself. Knuckles in his early manuals is described as a marsupial echidna, nickname Knuckle. And of course we can't go off of Knuckle because that's fucking dumb and that's not how nicknames really work in America. The only reason why they called him Knuckle in Japanese is because it's a shorter way of saying Knuckles. Because if you say Knuckles in Japanese, it's Nakuruzu, which I swear is so fucking extra, that's why I love Japan. It's pronounced Nakuruzu, but Knuckles is Nakur. It's just Nakur. That simple change can make it so different for him because they had to make him have a short name because they can't keep saying this shit all the time. Even though they'll continue to say his name as Nakuruzu and never actually as Knuckle, so it's kind of dumb, but fuck it, it was there.
Getting up, come on, we're getting up, come on, we're getting up. Yeah, I said that we can where you going,
When going into his personality, it does say that Knuckles is a short-tempered and reckless character. Of course, as we've seen from multiple games, especially Sonic X, Knuckles is a very short-tempered character who gets pissed off very easily, especially when it comes to his Master Emerald, which he treats like his goddamn girlfriend. Yo, why the fuck did I say this? You can see here that Knuckles is clearly just a nigga who's trying to get into a fight, which is why people call him Black, you know, because black people fight. With his recklessness, it shows in a lot of his actions that we will see now and we will see later in his character traits that I'll go over. With his recklessness, it does come down to his idea that he does some things that would seem very uncalled for anyone in any situation. Like for instance in SA2, where he's literally in a ship with Sonic and everyone else in fucking space. The first thing he tries to do is take over the rocket.
大丈夫だって。どうせマスターエメラルドのかけら以外何にも入ってないんだろ。バカやめろ。俺たちまで道連れにする気か。ああやめろ。そのレバー押すんじゃない。うわ
Bitch, you can't fly. What the fuck is wrong with you? Showing that, it shows that Knuckles is very reckless when it comes to doing what he wants to do and how he feels. If you want another example of this, you can look no further than the Sonic Rush. In Sonic Rush, when Sonic and Tails meet with Knuckles, he's under a fucking rock. That's because earlier on in this game, Knuckles for some reason sees Blaze with the emerald and is forcing her to give it to Sonic, and she's saying no, and then she basically kicks his ass straight into the rock, which I find fucking hilarious, and Sonic and Tails have to see him come out and help him out or whatever. Again, this nigga is very reckless and it is the most funniest thing you'll ever get. This is probably the main reason why Sonic X uses him for comedic purposes every time they can. But as we know, like it says in the manual, Knuckles is a very kind and good guy. Again, Knuckles is a very kind character at his core. He will help out anyone when he can. He'll do what he needs to. And of course, he's also just a pretty fun guy to be around when you get used to him. Of course, and we know he's a good guy because he'll help out Sonic and Tails on his adventures no matter what, even if he tries to hide it between his questionable acts. Now, the one thing that they do keep with Knuckles is that he's super gullible, and I think it's kind of a hindrance sometimes because with Knuckles as a character, he just kind of seems stupid in the eyes of a lot of people. Again, Knuckles' gullible side is because he is pure and honest, not because he's literally stupid. And again, as we see by Sonic Boom, they'll drag this shit to the fucking ground with him being the idiot of the group.
Stuntman in! And action!
I mean, look at this nigga, he's fucking funny, but he's also fucking dumb. Now, it also says he doesn't hate girls, but doesn't seem to be very good with them. As we could see in plenty of examples with him and Rouge back in the day before a certain era, Knuckles is the type of person to beat the shit out of Rouge.
どうして私たちがこんなボロボロになってるわけ？
ひでえ顔。
かな。
やめろよ。
うるさいこのハリモグラ。
They start fucking, it was gross.
And as we can see even earlier in Sonic X, in the beginning of the first arc, we can see that Knuckles and Amy are walking together, and Knuckles says some dumb shit and basically makes Amy leave. With Knuckles, he is kind of that type of person who is very reckless in what he says, which is why I went back to that reckless thing. See, foreshadowing, nigga. And it kind of gets him into trouble with girls. And also because Knuckles as a character is also very kind of socially awkward. He's not the best person to talk to, nor is he the worst person to talk to, but for this video, we're just going over how socially awkward he is, which is why I find him being the leader in Sonic Forces to make no sense. This is the same nigga who literally just screams at fucking people whenever he gets mad or talks shit instead of actually helping. Like in Sonic Heroes, where he's literally seeing that Tails is scared and the first thing he does is fuck with him. Like, fuck you, nigga. It says he is also good at finding hidden routes, which is kind of the idea of Sonic 3, where he is going through this entire area with new and open spaces and shit like that. But this is also never really used again, except for an IDW, where Fang and the gang come down to Angel Island and Knuckles uses all the traps he can to kind of trap them and use these hidden areas to kind of trap them and use them to his advantage, which I think is a cool idea and a cool way to be implemented lately, because we'll never really get this again because Sega really did not give this much of a shit. They only knew it was for gameplay purposes. And then we have for another one of his personality traits, it says that he is stubborn. Of course we know he's stubborn because he's the dickhead to kind of try to do whatever he can to take the emerald, even though shit can be happening and he'll try to kill them. But also just in general, Knuckles is a very stubborn character who won't give up and who also is easily able to get pissed and use that to his advantage. Like for instance in Sonic X, Eggman takes over the moon and basically blocks out the sun, and Knuckles is so stubborn on fighting Sonic that he won't just calm down and listen. But of course, as we know, Knuckles is not that much of a stubborn person. He can be an understanding guy. Like for instance, when we have certain times where Knuckles is clearly understanding what's happening in a situation and is trying to accommodate it, and also gives everyone the best benefit of the doubt, which then goes into another trait, which is that this nigga gets tricked easily, and I say easily to the 10th degree. Whenever Eggman says something, especially in X, Knuckles will just fall for it and keep falling for it and keep falling for it, so we have to make multiple jokes about it. Like in SA1, where Knuckles and Sonic are meeting up for the first time and Knuckles just fights him for some reason, and then literally we find out later on Knuckles was the dumbass in trouble and Sonic had to make fun of him, and then he starts acting like a bitch. I swear to you, this was the funniest shit I ever saw, and I love the scene so much. You will not know how many times I have re-recorded this line in my own voice demo. I swear to God.
どういうことだ。もしかしたらまさかまたエッグマンに騙されたのか。うるさい。単純というかなんというか。
They start fucking, it was gross.
And then there are other examples like in Sonic Advance where this literally happens again, where he gets tricked by Eggman and he kind of has to shut it off laughing and shit, like damn, he knows he fucked up, he can't do anything about it. He's really just like me though, for real. It also says that he is a famous treasure hunter and a martial arts expert. First of all, it doesn't make any fucking sense. If you spend most of your time on an island, you're not going to be treasure hunting. I've heard people make the excuse that they mean, oh, he's only hunting for the Master Emerald, then he's not treasure hunting, because the Master Emerald isn't a treasure to be found that is new and mysterious. No, he's been with it for a long fucking time, maybe since he was born. So it makes no genuine sense for him to be treasure hunting in any way. Because again, how the fuck do you treasure hunt when you're literally stuck on an island for most of your life protecting one gem? That makes no genuine sense. Now him being into martial arts, that doesn't really add anything. It's just what specific combat he's into. So we just go off of that and know it's a fun fact on Knuckles. It says that one of his most notable traits is digging holes and climbing walls with his special gloves, which makes it that the big spikes on the end of his hands aren't actually a part of his hands but are gloves. Again, I want to clarify that they're supposed to be gloves, but I do also think they could be a part of his hands in later continuities, just like for example in Sonic X where he punches one of Medarex's villains and he actually gets hurt and starts screaming, but that could just be because a giant spike has just come off your fucking glove and hurt your hand. I'm just saying it's a theory.
Okay.
It says one of his favorite things to do is digging, and Sega tries to play this off as, oh, of course, because he's a mole. And as we know, Knuckles can glide, but at least in Sonic's 3 manual, it describes him as flying, and I find that crazy because I assume that's just a game thing, because if it is the fact that he's flying and not gliding, that will be interesting, because if you look at how Knuckles' sprites work when he glides, and they take this out in later games, which I think is weird, but when he glides, his dreads open up as he glides, kind of maneuvering around the wind. So if he's flying, that makes the OVA not fucking crazy, because I was so confused. Why the fuck is this dude just flying? Like, your feet are not touching the ground. You are not gliding. What are you doing? I don't get it.
He's lying! He's lying! He's lying! He's lying!
I think this is going to be my first crash out moment on this damn video. It also says that he likes fruits and hates strong sunlight, and that makes sense. He's supposed to be a mole who digs underground and stuff like that, and we see it in SA2 where he kind of covers himself from the light, and we also see this in the Sonic OVA where he literally wears sunglasses. It's actually stated in his first manual that he likes fruits in general. Again, stop trying to give these characters one thing they can eat and that's the only thing. I would be starving if I could only eat one thing for the rest of my life. I would kill myself.
And trying to plan a money tree with this music. And I'm a good kid, just a little foolish. Have a drink, little juice, let's get loose.
And of course, as we know, with Knuckles being stubborn, he actually does have a short temper. As we will see here and there, Knuckles does get very angry to the point where he can get to that. But I think it does go into a problem with Ian Flynn.
Starts monologuing. He starts like this prepared speech about how feeble I am compared to him, how inevitable my defeat is, how the world will soon be his, yada yada yada. Yammering. I mean, the guy has me on a platter and he won't shut up.
With Ian Flynn, he kind of makes Knuckles this overly angry character, especially in his new comic where he has an arc with Trip about being less angry, but Knuckles was never really that angry. The only moments where he really gets angry is when someone is messing with the Emerald or when Sonic is really messing with him. Again, Knuckles gets pissed like anyone else if someone is bothering them that much, or when they try on purpose to irk him and that gets to him, or when some injustice is happening. So not really a lot of times. Again, he's never just getting angry for the sake of getting angry. Even in X, he never just got angry. And even then, he wasn't just angry all the time, angry, grumpy, little overconfident guy. Now, going on to another part of him, his confidence. Knuckles is very debatable, but he leans mostly on the side of confidence. He can be arrogant at times, which Sonic has never been, and if you tell me any differently, you're fucking stupid. But with Knuckles, he can be a little arrogant at times, and that does get him into some trouble. Overall, he's a very confident character, and it does make sense for him being Sonic's rival that he isn't overly cocky, because no one has to be cocky to really be a rival to Sonic. Also, another thing about Knuckles, this dude loves to fuck with people. I don't know why. In Sonic X, they show it off so much. Like for instance, when Sonic and Amy are going over the bridge and Knuckles just decides to fucking stomp, like nigga is fucking around with everyone. This is the funniest shit. Even when he's fighting one of the Metarex villains, he literally starts saying he's a dancing fool and starts fucking killing that shit in the middle of the fucking stage. And he even calls Rouge terrible in Sonic X as he beat the shit out of her, and clearly playing around with them. Knuckles is a character who will fuck around with the character. My big problem with that is that in Frontiers, they push that to a very high degree. Especially with a lot of Knuckles traits in Frontiers, they just push that to a very extreme degree, which I find very bad. But we'll talk about that when we get to that point. But it's even shown in Sonic Heroes when Knuckles is making fun of Tails while Tails is clearly being fucking scared. It's clearly supposed to be a very funny joke, and I think it works very well for this character. He's having fun, he's fucking around, it's Knuckles, you know.
Leave me alone!
You could say it's because Knuckles is having fun, but also it's because he is very socially awkward in a way where he's just able to say whatever he wants to say and doesn't care about the cautions of what's going to happen if he says this. And I think it works very well from his character, who's very not used to a lot of stuff compared to Sonic, who is used to it. It says that Knuckles is very smart and very knowledgeable, but it never says that he has street smarts. Again, like I said in my Sonic video, there's a difference between being smart and having street smarts. Again, the fact that Knuckles is gullible clearly shows the contrast between him and Sonic, where he doesn't have that street smart. But again, he is very smart when it comes to combat.
しかしなんでこんな板っ切れが浮くんだ？
それはね、無限後方検査面の流れを解析した結果とクッター・ジューコフスキーの定理によって求められた念力性能。
ストップ！分かったよ。 とにかく根性で浮いてるってことだな。
The concept is subtraction, so we gonna demonstrate. Look, so this board is represent 0. The can is 1. You put the can on the board is... What the fuck are you doing?
We doing the circumference, the Pythagorean.
Shut up. Don't even talk about that shit. You
Bitch,
don't know.
don't you ever tell me about not knowing about nothing. I'm a goddamn genius. What the fuck wrong with you? What I don't understand is cans and apples.
Now with Knuckles' character, unlike my other character videos, he doesn't really have two different characterizations, which is pretty crazy because I'd expect him the most to be having different changes, but pretty much throughout most games, he doesn't really change much. Neither does really most of the characters. I think the only thing that really comes is contradictions, and pretty much every character has that, so that's really nothing new at this point. But going off of that, let's actually talk about the character dynamics. So first, let's start off with Sonic and Knuckles. Sonic and Knuckles are friends, but they are also stated, especially by Knuckles, to be rivals. He does see him as that because he admires Sonic's free way of life, and he admires the attention he gets. With Knuckles, it does seem like he's a very lonely character, so I think it does make sense that he wants that same attention that Sonic does. But again, he doesn't 100% act like Sonic, but I can see in IDW they do try somewhat to give him a kind of arc like that in the small short with the Knuckles 30th anniversary. I don't see it being 100% the same idea because I still think that Knuckles at the end of the day still wants to protect the Emerald for himself. He doesn't do it for anyone else, especially after the character arc in SA1. It's very clear that he doesn't just want to leave the Master Emerald out of nowhere because it's a responsibility he holds. And it even goes into a character arc in SA2 which actually focuses on this idea, and I think it works very well and really needs to be explored. But again, at least by the manual's description, it's a maybe. It's never actually 100% confirmed. So again, Ian's arc can work, but it also doesn't really work. But with Sonic and Knuckles, they are the kind of characters to butt heads and go back and forth, but it's never just them fighting back and forth. Sonic has never really been a character all about fighting. Again, fighting can happen when it comes to him and Knuckles, but it doesn't actually mean that he's automatically trying to look for a fight. Again, Knuckles is never really looking for a fight either. The only time he really does get into a fight with Sonic is if Sonic is either messing with him or Sonic says something that makes him get very angry. A lot of Knuckles and Sonic's dynamic really is the idea of Knuckles and Sonic's back and forth. Again, they're very cool with each other, but again, they love to be playful back and forth and have playful banter. And that does cause them to get into some friction, especially with Knuckles, because Knuckles takes it a little bit more deeply, but sometimes he also knows that he's joking. But can also get into conflict because of Knuckles' own gullible actions and the word of mouth coming to blame Sonic due to his more reckless actions. But of course, Sonic and Knuckles both believe in each other and how capable they are and will always enjoy their time together. Again, they don't hate each other because they are friends at the end of the day, especially after SA1, they do kind of become friends, at least by the manuals. Also, another thing I want to talk about with Sonic and Knuckles is the difference between them and their rivalry, because with Knuckles' creation, he was made to be the opposite to Sonic in a lot of ways, so I want to talk about that here. So starting off, it says in Sonic's manual that Sonic is a ladies' man who doesn't like being chased, which is an opposite compared to Knuckles, who is awkward around women, which again makes sense because Knuckles around a lot of women is very awkward. I already went through this earlier. Then we have Sonic's speed versus Knuckles' strength. Again, kind of having Sonic compared to Knuckles in a unique way by having Knuckles be the one all about strength, while Sonic is the one all about speed. Sonic using his legs and Knuckles using his fists. It's very interesting and works very well for these characters when you're trying to make a rival. Now, of course, we know Knuckles is all about combat. He's all about mixed martial arts and all that type of stuff, but in my opinion, in the classics, Sonic was mostly about rolling into a ball. Sonic wasn't really the combat focused one, but of course Knuckles was, and they basically used to focus that on the rivalry. Now this next one is pretty obvious. Sonic is clearly supposed to be the more confident one if you see my videos already, but Knuckles is a little bit more arrogant and could be stated as being cocky, which again goes towards that comparison between the two. You could say later on that Knuckles does stop being cocky, but again, that's up to you to really decide. Then the next one after that is that Sonic is kind of aloof, where it's to the point where he can't see how people are really acting to him and he seems very relaxed in general. But Knuckles is always more focused and in the know on what's happening. Even if he isn't the most socially aware, he kind of gets what's happening a little bit. Which makes a lot of sense because we know the next one is Sonic being street smart while Knuckles is just smart. Again, Knuckles has never just been an idiot. He's actually pretty smart and can do really good when it comes to combat. Sonic, on the other hand, is street smart. Like I said in his video, he's clearly able to dissect the situation and see what's happening and use his street smart and his time being around the world to help him get through stuff. The next one, which is one of the biggest ones, is that Sonic is clearly supposed to be the free spirit who does whatever he wants, but Knuckles is of course the duty-bound one who's bound to his duty and is doing what he does because it's what he wants to do or because of it's his destiny. Again, not really made by his choice, unlike Sonic, who has all the freedom to do what he wants. Another cool thing is that Sonic, as we already know, does what he feels is right. With Knuckles in parallel to that, he is basically supposed to be the one who is basically just noble. He stands for very noble ideas and isn't doing it because he feels like it's that. No, it comes from maybe how the Echidna clan had him or just from his own personal thing. He decides to be noble no matter what. Sonic does whatever he feels is right, which means it could change at any point, but Knuckles in his nobleness is focused on one exact thing that comes from being noble, which I think also works very well when we're talking about these characters in comparison. And this next one goes off the free will, of course. We have Sonic being an explorer, while Knuckles spends most of his time on the island being docile and stuff like that. It's pretty obvious. Then the next one, of course, is that Sonic is very clever, while Knuckles is very naive, easily able to be tricked, while Sonic is easily not able to be tricked, because we can clearly see this every time when Eggman just does something like, oh, I'm the good guy. Sonic's like, I get it. Knuckles is like, oh, I need to help him. Then one of the games specifically does is that the games actually make Sonic the more faster character in games, but Knuckles is like kind of slower. Kind of trying to compare that, hey, he's a rival who can come up to Sonic in speed somewhat, but overall he isn't as fast as him. Again, he is the fastest thing alive, so he can't be the fastest too, but he is pretty slow compared to him. And even in their gameplay, Sonic is more free when it comes to his movement and comes to going around and doing different stuff like that. But when Knuckles in his glide, it kind of leads you to do more straight and narrower path going around Sonic levels. Knuckles' abilities kind of make him kind of a point you in the right direction kind of way, going in a straight path, while Sonic is you can go pretty much wherever you want, clearly comparing that freedom to that more straightforward kind of idea with Knuckles and Sonic. Now the next one with Sonic is that of course Sonic is very good at making friends, but he also does like to be alone. With Knuckles, it does take him a minute to make friends, but he's also just always been alone all of his life, so it makes it more hard on him than it does Sonic. Again, Knuckles is very naive and stuff like that because of the fact that he's pretty much been alone all of his life. If he had people around him to actually make him know this stuff, he probably would be better, but again, that is just some of the differences that they have. And of course the biggest one is that Sonic is blue and Knuckles is red. Again, showing that clear comparison when they made their first rival, that they wanted him to stand out compared to Sonic. Again, what's better than red? Blue. Again, what's better than blue? Red. Again, there's a clear competition between those two, and we see it in good and evil and all the different type of stuff, so it makes sense for Knuckles to be red compared to Sonic's blue. Again, Sonic already has red and white over his shoes, but of course with Knuckles they had to make him stand out, so they made him basically just red with a Jamaican flag over him. Also again, really comparing to Sonic, because Sonic is basically the American flag while Knuckles is the Jamaican flag.
God damn! Can somebody tell me what time it is? What the fuck wrong with your watch? Shit, nigga, the sun is reflecting all this ice. I can't see a motherfucking thing.
Man, get the fuck out of here.
Nah, for real, nigga, look.
Ah, shit.
Man. Go, you got your stutter shades, right? Yeah. Then put the motherfuckers on there, nigga. Tell me what time it is. Nigga, it's 2:30.
Now going on to his dynamic with him and Eggman. Him and Eggman is pretty simple. All it is that Knuckles sees Eggman as a foe. But with him being a foe, he also can be tricked by Eggman into thinking that he's the innocent one. Again, due to Knuckles' gullibleness and him being a noble character, he still tries to help out Eggman at times when Eggman tricks him, which then causes him to get tricked a lot, which then makes him try to beat the shit out of him, which he does succeed at times. But besides that, their dynamic isn't too crazy and doesn't have too much to it, but it works for the narrative. Of course, when Eggman's trying to steal Knuckles' emerald, or when something is happening between them, or when Eggman's trying to trick Knuckles into fighting Sonic, again, that'll be their main dynamic. Now on to Knuckles and Tails. Knuckles and Tails don't have much interaction, but when we do get interaction by them, it's more Knuckles playing more towards Tails being a kid and being scared, and he'll joke around, or he'll be telling him to get serious, or really they'll just have talking moments. They never really go too in depth with the Knuckles and Tails dynamic, even though they can talk to each other, but usually it's because Tails is the one stopping Knuckles and Sonic from fighting all the time and having their playful banter, because Tails is supposed to be the straight man, like I said in his video.
Straight up.
Now going into another trait with Knuckles, it is said that he is inflexible, which means he is unwilling to change or compromise, which is actually interesting because it actually matches Sonic's dynamic, because Sonic is a person who won't give in nor compromise. Again, Sonic and Knuckles are kind of characters who never really change. Knuckles is very duty bound by responsibility and what his destiny is supposed to be. He chooses to do it, but it is something that could not be fully for him, but he chooses it to be for him for now, and again, he won't change or compromise that. This is why I personally think Knuckles' arc in Frontiers makes no sense. You take a character with so much individuality and something that makes him so unique, and you basically take that away to make him like every other Sonic friend and make him less unique than everyone else, because we just need Knuckles to be in every game and do everything the same, and everything just seems so fucking dumb to me, which is why I really hate him being here. And I think that's an interesting aspect when you're looking into Knuckles' character. One of the most notable things about Knuckles is that he is a comparison to Sonic as a rival. With Knuckles, he is supposed to be the opposite to Sonic in his ideas, especially when you think about what Sonic is and what Knuckles is. Sonic has been represented as the idea of wind, but Knuckles has been represented as a non-moving rock. Oh, and one thing I forgot to say about Knuckles is that Knuckles' white crevice that you see on his chest is based off of the Asian black bear, which is a very well-known bear in Japan, which is why Knuckles has that, and it basically does represent the idea of a non-moving mountain, which is Knuckles, of course, so it makes sense that that white crevice that used to be a Nike sign in concept is now a white crevice like the Asian black bear. Again, which is why I'm kind of skeptical on this idea of that Knuckles has to be free and blah 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 when he's supposed to be a non-moving rock. Knuckles chooses to not move, and as we'll see later on, Knuckles doesn't really like to be out in the open like that. Again, he's a needle mole, so he doesn't really like light like that. Even in Sonic's birthday at Joyopolis, he literally says at the end of it that he's not really used to being in these big crowds and doesn't really like it, but he enjoyed his time there. Clearly showing that Knuckles as a character can have fun, but it's not his main thing that he wants to do. And we even see at the end of Sonic X, when the Master Emerald is destroyed, he still decides to just sit at his island and wait for the Master Emerald to come back because he enjoys his alone time. It even says in his song that he prefers to be a loner. Again, I don't hate the idea that Knuckles wants to hang with his friends, but at the same time, he's mostly a loner, so the idea of him going through this arc of, I want to leave the Master Emerald and go on and do adventures like you, Sonic, seems pretty dumb. And in my opinion, it also makes him very unique from every other Sonic character who is just Sonic's friend. Even his creator himself said that he didn't expect Knuckles to be this popular. Knuckles was supposed to be a one-off character. It was never supposed to be naturally that he'll become a part of Sonic's list of long friends who come around every time. He was supposed to be a one-off who then became popular, so he's been showing up more, but then they use that to make a bigger problem with Knuckles. And that problem for me is that Knuckles is never on his job with protecting the Master Emerald. Now, this could be a plot thing later on, but it doesn't even make sense in the plot itself. One day, Knuckles is the character protecting the Master Emerald doing his duty, but then another day he's just out there doing whatever the fuck Sonic does, and it's almost like Sega does not have any consistency in their lives. And it's so bad because I like Knuckles with this idea that he is protecting the Master Emerald, but Sega made it up and then doesn't use it all the time. There are plenty of Sonic stories where he just doesn't watch the Master Emerald and is just hanging with Sonic, like Sonic Riders and a bunch of other games where he's just not watching the Master Emerald. Like, what the fuck do you want from this character? Again, it was clearly the idea of that we have a character that people like a lot and we can't just put him away because he has a duty, but we really don't give a shit about that duty. Like for instance with Sonic Frontiers, the only way we knew that Knuckles was still protecting the Master Emerald was that Ian wrote in the script that he was telling us this, and they had to make a short explaining why he's not with the Master Emerald right now, because Sega was like, oh yeah, just shove some shit together, they'll probably get it then, which they genuinely didn't. But at least in Superstars they tried to make an excuse, but again, they're very iffy when it comes to doing it. Especially in Dream Team, why the fuck is he here? Get the fuck out, you're supposed to be at home, nigga.
Don't get too far ahead.
Maybe we should just let them wrap it up on their own.
We have to see this through.
We still haven't found Tails. We've been wrangling children and taking detours the whole way.
Boo! Hey, Tom, shut the fuck up.
Boy, watch your mouth. Tom, shut the fuck up.
He's a nice guy.
How you doing?
He's a nice guy.
Good to see you.
He's a nice guy.
How your mama them?
But enough of that, let's just go to one of the biggest criticisms I wanted to talk about, which is Ian Flynn with Knuckles. Because everyone praises Ian Flynn for writing Knuckles the best, Knuckles the most in character he's ever been, but every time I look at his writing, I'm like, this is not fucking Knuckles. I don't know if it's just me and I'm crazy. Every trait I just stated is always used as an exaggeration or something to just make him out of character. Like for instance, we know Knuckles can get angry, but Knuckles has never just been the person to just get angry just because and just start punching people. Again, Knuckles doesn't start punching unless someone actually puts him in combat or makes him very angry to the point where he'll punch someone. Like for instance, in the side channel story with Sonic and Knuckles, the only reason why Knuckles even fights Sonic is because Sonic literally hops on his head and literally starts playing around with him. Besides that, Knuckles calms down after that and then goes back to his adventure while still being irked at Sonic because Sonic keeps fucking with him. Or for another example, like in Sonic X, Knuckles doesn't just get angry at Sonic for no reason because Sonic did something. No, Knuckles has a reason in Sonic X. In Sonic X, Eggman tells him that Sonic is the reason why we're here, Knuckles. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Sonic. I was trying to use my machine to do something and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but Sonic made this thing happen and he's the bad guy. And Knuckles is like, fuck, now I'm the Watchman Emerald because of this fuckhead. Again, that makes sense for him to get angry. Knuckles gets angry at very natural things. Again, Knuckles is very stubborn and kind of ignorant, but he still knows to be a little bit more rational. Especially when he finds out he got tricked by Eggman, he goes after Eggman. He's not still mad at Sonic. And you could say Knuckles never does this specifically with Sonic in IDW, but again, he's just too fucking angry that just feels very unnatural to him. Another thing about them is their banter. Especially in Sonic Frontiers, Knuckles and Sonic are just doing jokes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's the only thing they do. Like, there's times where they talk it out. Whenever we see them in like the bigger cutscenes, it's just them having their back and forth and just keep going back and forth over and over and over again. When Knuckles is free and then him and Sonic are going back and forth with their jokes being all funny. And I'm like, why is this needed? Sonic characters are serious. And I talked about this in my Tales video. Ian Flynn writes these characters like it's a fucking comedy. Especially in the new anniversary for Knuckles, this whole thing is just comedy and just made to be the funny. There's literally nothing being taken very seriously here. And even then, his arc there is very dumb because it's all about him being angry and he needs to learn to calm down. Even though Knuckles is a rational character, he's never just been the fucking angry person. Again, Sonic and Knuckles have a short temper, but they can be understandable and calm. They have never just been these angry people who just get angry just because. But going back to the comic, he's like super gloaty and just keeps talking about how awesome he is and how everyone loves him, talking about how I'm a great protector, even though he's never been that conceited. Again, I could say Knuckles can be a little arrogant, but he's never been super arrogant to the point where he just starts telling everyone he's great or telling himself he's great, like he's the most cockiest person ever. Like, nigga, calm the fuck down. I'm sorry, you are just too hype. No, there's no reason why he should be saying, yeah, I'm a great protector of the Master Emerald. Like, that's never been his thing. He's never just been like, I'm great and everyone knows I'm great, everyone loves me. Nothing like that. That makes no sense. Again, Knuckles is very socially awkward. He's confident, but he isn't that confident. Again, he'll call someone out when they do something stupid or have a little bit of that overconfidence when going back and forth with Sonic, but he's never just overconfident. Knuckles knows when he gets beat, and he also knows when people are tough and when he can't beat them, and knows when to use strategy. He's never like getting mad like, I could have did that better and blah 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 blah, because that's never really been him and Sonic's dynamic at every point. Even in 2010s they do this where he's like, nice try Sonic, but I could have got all the animals faster. When it's like, that makes no sense. If they are going through something, Knuckles is going to pay attention and be serious as Sonic would. Again, this makes no sense. There's even a point at the beginning of IDW where Knuckles is with Sonic and literally we see Rough and Tumble doing their whole Team Rocket thing and Knuckles like, oh, they're so serious. And like, what the fuck is this? I'm sorry, this is so not Knuckles. Why is he acting serious when he sees the most goofy pose when I'm pretty sure if it was anything else he'd be like, that's kind of stupid, just like Sonic. It's taking that gullible idea and making it seem like he's gullible to everything.
You're too trusting, Sonic. No, I'm not. Trust me. Huh?
When that's not true. Again, he can be tricked, he can be persuaded, but he cannot just be genuinely stupid to the point where he's like, oh, they're very serious when they're doing the most goofy fucking pose. Knuckles is socially aware to some degree, but not to the degree of Sonic, which gets him stuck and stuff. But again, he's socially aware to the degree where he knows what's going on and knows when something is fucking silly. Again, he calls out Rouge for this, he calls out Tails for this. It makes no sense for him to be acting this goofy just because he sees two people doing a goofy pose and he's taking it seriously when Sonic isn't, so Sonic's laughing and he's taking it seriously. This is just dumb. It doesn't work for Knuckles. It doesn't make sense. Ian writes dialogue so weirdly. Please stop. Even at the end of Frontiers, where they're trying to save Sonic from, I guess, quote unquote dying, Knuckles is like, this is a payment for earlier. Like, shut the fuck up. Why the fuck are you spending all this time just saying this is a payment for earlier from before when I did this and you did that? And blah, blah, blah. Like, shut the fuck up. This is so bad. Why do you keep doing this with these characters? I swear to God, they think Knuckles is just some overly talkative, super cocky, super brawly bro. Like, even his voice actors sound so bro, especially now in Frontiers. He's so deep, but Knuckles is just a casual person in the Japanese. Again, this is clearly more to the fact that Ian does not know how to write Knuckles, even lately. And I've given you a lately response with Frontiers and with his IDW panel. He does not know how to write Knuckles. I am sorry, I don't get why so many people really say that, oh, his classic Knuckles is better, or his classic characters are better, when they're mostly the same as the modern interpretations. It's just that I guess they take it more seriously, quote unquote, even though they make the most jokes. The one thing I can say that Ian did do right was that he does keep Knuckles watching the Master Emerald for most of the series, and he isn't just out willy-nilly whenever they need him. Oh wait, I forgot Dream Team. Fuck Dream Team, nigga. Also, I want to go back to the character arc from Frontiers. Again, with the whole idea that I yearn for your lifestyle is really weird because the manual doesn't say that he yearns for Sonic's lifestyle, is that he admires Sonic's lifestyle and maybe because he kind of wants it. It doesn't mean he yearns for like some, oh, I wish I could be you, Sonic. Like, no. Even in his latest IDW chapter, in the anniversary, he's literally like, I gotta be more like Sonic. No, I can't do that. Where it's weird because Knuckles doesn't want to be like Sonic. He's just like, oh, Sonic's so free, he can do whatever he wants. I think I kind of want that, but I also know this duty is mine. Again, it's kind of the idea that Knuckles is conflicted in the duty itself. Like, he wants to do what his duty wants him to do. It would have just been better if Knuckles said, I do like helping you save the world, and I do like hang around you guys. And then Sonic or someone could say, don't worry, Knuckles, we'll come up to Angel Island and be with you sometimes. Or don't worry, Knuckles, you can come and help us on any adventure, no matter if you feel like you're mistaken for leaving the Master Emerald. Again, something easier. Or even do this. I'm giving this for free, Ian. Easiest thing. They did it in Superstars and you had nothing to do with the script. I don't know why you didn't think of this. Just have the Emerald tell him to go help Sonic and them. It's the easiest thing. It's so easy that Sonic did it. The series you work on did that. Just have the Master Emerald say, hey, there's some big thing happening. Go do that. It's not that hard.
If this world were mine.
Hey. Now you probably assume this will be the part where I'll talk about all the different characterizations of Knuckles and how they're all different, and no, I like having my mental health, thank you. But I also think that there's no point. I'm going to state the record here because I really want to get this out of the way. I'm not going to keep comparing every character in every video because I feel like every character does not need that. Again, if you are seeing these traits and seeing how these traits are actually executed in the Japanese, you do not need me to keep telling you how this and that is different unless you genuinely can't see the differences, which is okay. If you really want to see the differences, just look at comparisons in each cutscene. Looking at how they do it in the Japanese compared to the English is the most easiest way to get this through, and I support people who do that more than keep asking me. But of course there will be times where I will go into it in my own personal time on my Twitter, which I may leave due to Blue Sky. Besides that, that's it.
But why can't you make an explanation since this is your character analysis?
I don't know, nigga, I just don't want to. Also, wait, why the fuck are you in my video? This is not the type of video, stop! But going back to Knuckles, I think that Knuckles is a very fun character and is a very interesting character to go through. I just think that with how Ian writes him, people praise it a little too much for more basic ideas. And again, you're allowed to like those basic ideas instead of the full-on package, but in his dialogue and in how he writes them, it feels very unnatural. And people say he gets him the closest. I can somewhat agree. I don't think he's the closest I'd ever say to like someone who actually knows Japanese counterparts, but I can say that they're close, especially when it comes to the games. He's fairly close with them. I think he's more closer with another character. I think that's more due to Sega than more with him. With Knuckles, I just really want to get this idea across that he is an interesting character who does have a lot to him, but again, he's also fairly simpler. Because again, Knuckles was never made to be this big character with all this depth. But moving on to another trait of Knuckles is that Knuckles is actually very good at reading hieroglyphs, which again comes with the fact that this is a Knuckles who doesn't stay on Angel Island, but it's still a cool idea. Again, it goes towards that treasure hunter idea, which the modern games really want to push, which of course I don't really chill with, but I think it's cool for what it is. And I wish I could so badly go over this, but I know I can't right now. I really want to go into his dynamic with him and Rouge. All I'm gonna say is that they want to fuck. I mean, all I want to say is that it's a very interesting dynamic and kind of goes off his own rival, but we'll go over more of that in the Rouge video itself, so look forward to that. And another thing with Knuckles is that he wants to help train someone if someone needs help. Again, Knuckles kind of being this noble character, he kind of wants to help someone if they need help. Like for instance, with Emerald. With Emerald, he does help him out trying to find the Chaos Emeralds and try to teach him some combat stuff. Of course, due to his character, he does some very silly things with Emerald and gets himself and Emerald into trouble. But there is a thing with the comic where Knuckles isn't just trying to help Emerald because, oh, he's this cocky character. No, he's trying to help Emerald because he thinks it's noble, and so Sonic won't taint him with his own abilities or with his own personality in general. But overall, he does try to help, again, even if it's the most awkward way to help sometimes, but he does his best. And again, at the end, Emerald does start taking traits from Knuckles, and Knuckles feels kind of proud of that, but also sees that he's kind of a bit aggressive and kind of a bit out there, you know? He doesn't stop it, but he sees it, which goes back to my point that Knuckles is very socially aware. Again, he's not the most aware, but he has some degree of social awareness. And I do think that Ian Flynn does do an interesting idea with this concept in his 40th anniversary with Trip, where he tries to have her teach him, but I also think that doesn't really make sense because he does it because he thinks he's the greatest guardian of the Master Emerald and he does everything so greatly and he is the shit, when he's never really been that and he's never really that overconfident. Also, another thing with Knuckles is he's also that kind of guy to try to cheer you on and keep you going and keep going on with the adventure. Knuckles has that excited energy when it comes to like combat or just like going on these adventures, because as we see in Sonic X, when Sonic is fighting this robot, Knuckles is in the background trying to tell him how to do this and punch him like that and do this special move and whatever. And then we see in plenty of other games, Knuckles gets very excited when going on these adventures with Emerald and stuff like that. It's very good for him because again, he's having some fun with this. Again, I don't hate it, but it does add a problem later, which I will talk about. And of course, when we look at Knuckles, Knuckles is very tsundere in his actions. Of course, if he is getting fooled or getting embarrassed, he acts very embarrassed and acts very mad like, I didn't get fooled, you baka. Knuckles is very much a tsundere in his character, and I think that's so fun for a character like him, and it brings so much fun moments with him because again, he can get embarrassed and everyone will call him out on it, but he'll act like an embarrassed little girl like, stop it guys, stop being such jerks and stuff like that. But of course, with his short temper, of course that then leads him to do that, and I love that about him. It's so fun for his character. But overall, I just think that Knuckles is a very fun and simple and interesting character that can be taken to a lot of places. And again, I think that Ian Flynn doesn't know the best way to explore him. Again, I really did just want to talk about this character the best that I could, and seeing that this video isn't as long as my other character videos, I'm actually fairly happy that I got to get everything about Knuckles that I could, because Knuckles is such a fun character. There's a reason why he's the most popular. Again, I don't like what they do with him in the movies where he's just an idiot and kind of a weird foreign character who's like rocks and grapes and blah, 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 blah. I like Knuckles being Knuckles. Knuckles is a very cool character, and there's a reason why he has so much to do with him and has so much you can explore, especially even though we are dealing with a Knuckles who isn't protecting the Emerald and who isn't a one-time thing. Again, I know that Knuckles isn't supposed to be with the gang, but I can't help but like it for stories. Again, not every story needs him. Again, you can kind of dial it back, but Knuckles being here and there makes sense, and I think it's fun, and I think you can actually do some very well told narrative stories. Knuckles is a character you can use to your advantage, even if Sega has changed him due to the fact of how the changing times went and how his popularity made him grow. But I think that just shows how interesting a character can be when he's different. When Knuckles is different from Sonic and Tails and Amy and not just being Sonic's friend, he has a responsibility, lives on an island, does his own thing, and he's a pretty much a tsundere character who's very cool, who's very strong. You can get a different character, and that just really opens people's eyes and makes people think of him as new and unique. And I think that works for Knuckles because Knuckles is really a character that we shouldn't all strive to be, but he's an interesting character that has some ideas that we can understand, like the ideas of responsibility and what you are supposed to do as a person who is living in this world and being responsible for your life and what you do with that life. Sonic also shows us that there has to be freedom that comes along with that, but we're not going to go more into that because that's for SA2. It's all about doing doing that duty for yourself, and Knuckles really represents that, and I think it's very interesting and it works very well for his character and for people in real life. Most of these Sonic characters really mean something, but to take them away really makes it make no sense. Also, just because I said it in my Sonic, my Tails, and my Eggman video, Knuckles is actually different. He's an amnivert. And also, if you're asking what happened to Fukuto Hoseki, she retired, so she's not going to be around, and I'm just telling you this here because I know she was very much interesting to a lot of Japanese Sonic fans, and the introverted idea with Sonic is something I use personally, but Knuckles is an amnivert, and it makes sense because he is able to show certain emotions with people when they're in public, and he's also able to keep those emotions to himself. Again, introversion and extroversion is a spectrum, and the spectrum can go either way, and especially with Knuckles, he's pretty much in the middle. He does lean more towards introversion, but Sonic leans way more into introversion, and then we have other characters lean further than Sonic. Again, Knuckles is that middle ground because he's able to express his feelings when he can. Again, he has never just been fully closed off on his feelings. Again, Sonic giving a compliment is different from Knuckles telling people how he feels in a certain situation and how he feels on this stuff. Knuckles, with all of his emotions, are very open to some degree, but some of them he keeps to himself. It doesn't really go into, like the idea of him yearning for adventure maybe, or being jealous of Sonic's adventure and getting all the attention. Again, it's just an interesting idea to his introversion, but also his extroversion shows very well in everything else. But overall, I just think Knuckles is a really good character and he should be appreciated for being himself. Ian writes him very differently and not that good compared to what Sega has done even in their own Japanese stuff lately, but again, I don't want to keep sticking to Ian because Ian is writing his own characterizations and that is his different version. And again, you can like any other version of Sonic from Boom, IDW, but I just want you to know that his character is Knuckles the Echidna, and I'll see you guys later.